Step up and take your chances with a man who creates stanzas like black folk create dances. Step up and take your chances with a man who creates stanzas like black folk create dances. Please don't approach on a dare or a whim, ill-prepared, nonchalant when your chances were already slim. I'll have you muttering and stuttering incoherently. Who, him? For I do not take lightly what I write or what I speak.
Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning, and this is Victor Sotomayor starting a new. Very, very excited about this show. Very, very excited because I have one of my best friends, actually my brother. I actually am the only son, so he's my brother in spirit. And we actually I've known Jeffrey for about a year and a half or 2 years. Mm-hmm. I always forget. I always say 2 years, but it's probably less or more. Anyways, he's the host of Tia Chucha's open mic. For those that don't know still, Tia Chucha's is a bookstore that holds an open mic on the second and fourth Friday of every month. And it's hosted by Jeffery Martin, and he is amazing. He brings the best talent from Hollywood, from LA area. He's actually known in the community as he's a very, very special person. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Jeffery Martin. Here he is.
Hey, well, I'm honored to be on here. Thank you for having me. Excited. I know we're going to talk about some deep stuff, so just ready to get it kicking. But just a pleasure and an honor to be here. So thank you for having me on.
The pleasure is all mine. Actually, before we start, I wanted to mention something about you. And I always say this to you, and I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. You probably do, and you're just like, another comment. But it was actually shortly after I met you. I met you actually at Placita Olvera, or was it Union Station?
Union Station? Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And you were doing something really, really interesting that day. You were actually getting on the metro with William Gonzalez, with Matt Bives, and I don't know who else was there, maybe Caesar.
Yes, right.
Right? Okay, I didn't know them back then. I just knew you were there and Matt was there. Mm-hmm. And I was with Dean at the time. You know, we were going to I forgot what it was. There was some festival. Something was going on at Placita Olvera, like always. And you were actually getting on the metro, and you were actually stopping on different stops along the way. Right. Mm-hmm. And you explain to people what you were doing, because I don't know what you were doing.
Yeah, we were Luis Rodriguez, who wrote the book Always Run. He was written 15 or 16 books, but that was the one that really captured me and captured so many other people. But anyway, he was running for governor for this last race, and someone came up with the brilliant idea of having poets get on the metro, get on the trains, and stop at various stops and recite poetry right there on the trains for the people, because Luis Rodriguez is a poet. I think he started off as a poet before he was known as anything else. And so it was a great idea. So when I saw you, we were just getting started to go down the train, I think we were on the Blue Line, and go down the Blue Line and stop in various places, Watts, all those kind of places, and just recite poetry. You know, and most of the poetry was conscious poetry, political poetry, and it was great. And I think when I saw you that day, I think I invited you to come with us, but you were on your way to somewhere else or something. I kind of caught you off guard, if I remember correctly. So yeah. And it was the first time.
Well, and honestly, here's what happens in my side of the story. So you were there, and you know everybody was there, and I think I had at that time I already had met some of them, and I was very shy, but you did something really special up until today. I remember what you did, and I don't know if you did it consciously or unconsciously. You probably did it consciously, but you actually gave me a handshake. But it was a handshake where you grab the hand and you pull the person in. That's what you do.
Right.
I got used to your handshake, and I'm like, oh, here he goes. Woo!
Right.
You pulled me like, oh, okay. Anyway, so you did that, and I was like, oh okay. Hey. But the interesting thing was, and you say, come on, let's go on the train and let's jump on and let's do poetry, and I was petrified. And I think I told you this story before, and I'm like, but you did something that day. You actually did something where I was like, wait, why am I scared about? Why was I afraid of getting that train? And now I realize the train has a different meaning now. You know. It was like jump in the train, jump with me on the train. Let's do this. You were doing that, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. And actually, we just got off the train. We actually came there on the train.
Oh, okay.
So that was interesting. The interesting part was actually we actually had taken the red line.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, anyhow. Now I always say to you, I'm like, thank you for that handshake.
Oh yeah, man. It's been a blessing for me just knowing you, man. It really has. You're fire with poetry, and poetry is a lot like that train, man. You at first it's scary to jump on it, but eventually, because poetry is like exposing your soul. That's the way I look at it. So it's not something you just jump into right away. So I understand your hesitation about that train, because that's how poetry is. Then once we get comfortable with it, not only do we expose our soul, but we actually help others, and that's the power of poetry. That's why I write it. I mean, I didn't write it to write books. I didn't write it to get any kind of fame or fortune, because that's not what it's about. I actually wrote it to heal, and then once I started healing, I saw that my words could inspire other people to do their own healing too. So that's the power of poetry for me.
Actually, that was going to be one of my questions, because actually I was reading. I've been up all night, okay, and so right now it's 9 in the morning. Right. I've already been up for 7 hours, okay, and not because I was nervous or anything, but I just suffer from insomnia and whatever. Long story. But I started writing the questions, right? And I'm like, and I was reading your book. It's called From Somewhere to Somewhere Else. And later, I would like for you to tell people how to get your books, because you not only have one, but you have many.
Right.
And I was reading a piece. First of all, it's called Billy. Okay. I think it was called Billy, but let me see. What is the title? The official title is Discrimination.
Yeah. And then Billy's
Discrimination, and then parenthesis Billy.
Right.
I think you should rename it Billy.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, and well, for those that don't know, obviously haven't read your piece. You want to tell them about your piece?
Yeah. I grew up in Long Beach. My up until I was 8 or 9 years old, I grew up in Long Beach. And when I was in Long Beach in the late 60s, a lot was going on, of course. And I went to Broad Acres Elementary School. Not Broad Acres, I'm sorry, that's in Carson. I went to, I can't think of the Garfield Elementary School in Long Beach. And it's still there. And I had a best friend named Billy. And during that time, they had these apartment complexes for only the families of soldiers. They're no longer there now, but they were there when I was growing up. And I remember Billy moving. Billy was my best friend, redhead, freckled, white kid. He was my best friend. I mean, that's me and Billy played all the time. Went to school. We went to Garfield Elementary School together, and I just loved this cat. Well, he moved. His family moved not too far from where they were living, but they moved. I guess his father was. I guess Vietnam was going on at that time, but his father was in the Army. I know that. And so they moved, and I was coming up the street one day, and I noticed that Billy was acting a little bit different once he moved. I don't know what was going on, but I had met a couple of his new friends, and they weren't real friendly, but I didn't think anything of it. So I'm coming up the street, and I figured I'm going to surprise Billy at his new place, and it had a fence in front of it. And I'm coming up the street, and Billy sees me. He's like on his porch or on the steps or whatever. He sees me, and he runs to the fence, and he locks it. And I'm thinking Billy is playing, so I said, Billy, unlock the fence. And he says, no, you can't come in here. I was like, why can't I come in there, Billy? And he said, you're a nigger, and niggers can't come in here. And I had never heard that term. If I had, it was unconscious, but I wasn't familiar with that term, so I didn't know what he was talking about. And once I saw that he was serious and he wasn't going to unlock the fence, I just started crying uncontrollably. I couldn't stop. I mean, I wasn't making any noise, but the tears were just streaming down my face because I really didn't understand why my best friend didn't want to play with me anymore. And I went home, and it really broke me up. It really did. I think I wet my pants. I mean, it just really, and I'm walking in the house, and I look a mess, and my mom is there, and she runs over, what's going on? And I tell her about the incident, and she didn't cry, she didn't holler or anything, but I could see in her face it really hurt her. And she just said, Billy's stupid. But that just bothered me. That was my first introduction to racism and discrimination. It was my first introduction. And then a year later, it's odd. I changed schools, and a year later in '68, Martin Luther King was assassinated. And we're watching, and I'm like 7 years old, we're watching on television, and I think it was his castle was pulled by mules, if I'm not mistaken, a donkey or a mule, whatever. And I'm watching it, and people are in the room with me, my mother, my stepfather, and some other people. And I said, did they kill him because he was a nigger? And everybody just kind of looked at me. Nobody really said anything, but everybody kind of just looked at me. And that was my first introduction to somebody discriminating because of color. And it really bothered me. It was like, wow. And I don't think I might have seen Billy, after that happened, I might have seen Billy at school, but he like disappeared from me. It's like he died, even though I saw him every day, it's like he died for me. Something for him.
That's the piece, okay, and so that's the part that really got to me. And that's why I asked you that day or that evening that I was reading it. I asked you about Billy. Mm-hmm. And the reason I asked you about Billy, let me read what you wrote. Okay. And this is the part that really got to me. You wrote, after the incident you just mentioned, a year passed, and although I'm sure Billy and I saw one another at a school, I never really saw Billy again. Mm-hmm. He was no longer a living, breathing life for me, but more a piece of landscape or school furniture. The Billy I knew had died, and I couldn't go visit his grave because I had no idea what one buried kindness. Mm-hmm. And then you talk about Martin Luther King and everything. Mm-hmm. But I thought that was really interesting, what you wrote when you said he had died, but you didn't know where his grave was. Yeah. And because you don't know where his kindness went. Where did his kindness go? Yeah. Because I still, man. And so that's why. Well, I was actually crying because I was like, I'm sure somebody told Billy to do this to you. Yeah, exactly. And in his words that they used to use against you. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And I still see I still remember him like it was yesterday. He was such a beautiful person. So that just confused me where this beautiful person went. And as a kid, you don't know that it's adults pushing this kid to think that way, because I know he wasn't that way. That wasn't Billy. That wasn't Billy. So, it was really hurtful. But at that time, I couldn't
I'm an adult now, so it's easy to see that was mom or dad or uncle or aunt or something that put that in Billy. That wasn't Billy, though. But I just, that Billy was lost for me. I never found him again.
Right. So, yeah, it's actually interesting because I'm sure Billy now knows how wrong that was. Or maybe he knew right away. Maybe he knew 10 minutes when you were walking, crying, you were going home. He immediately knew what he did to you.
Yeah, maybe so.
I don't know. I'm wondering. I'm like, I wonder.
You
know why I wonder? Because I went through bullying myself, and I didn't grow up here. I grew up in Peru, and have the same experience with homophobic people. And I know that they think about me because when I went back to Peru, one of them in particular did the impossible to beat me. And I remember how he used to treat me in school, how mean he was,
Right.
And he would terrify me in the bathroom because I didn't want to go to the bathroom in high school.
Yeah.
Because of him.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, wow. So it's only been 20 years later that you now realize what you did to me back in high school.
Right.
Interesting.
Right. Well, at least he realized it, It took him a long time to realize it, I guess. But some people don't realize the damage they inflict on people early, especially in my situation, especially adults. Kids too can be cruel, but adults, you're so impressionable as a little kid that when an adult tells you something about yourself, if it's not positive, at least this is what I dealt with. You believe it because you look up to this person as a parent or uncle or something like that. You look up to them, so what they say must be valid because they would know, But you find later on that they didn't know, that they're, it's broken people creating other broken people many times. That's what I found. So.
Yeah, and actually, I have that brings me to the next thing I wrote down here. When you think of these words, okay, I'm going to say a few words that you wrote in another piece called Submerged.
Okay.
And you wrote these words, and these are words that were said to you. So I just want you to think about these words. And you just said something really interesting, that these adults use these words, and you took them as validation. You just said that.
Yeah.
So, anyways, the words that they told you were bastard, stupid, retarded,
yep,
sissy.
Yeah, that was a big one. When I was coming up, that was a big one. That one, I don't know why that one stung me so much, but that was a big one. Okay, go on. I'm sorry.
You mean sissy?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it would be bastard.
No.
I'm sorry to laugh, but I'm like,
no.
I would have taken bastard as like, whoa.
I didn't know what that was, but that sissy for some reason it meant I wasn't strong. A lot of things that my stepfather used to say to me would make me cry. I'd try not to cry because I knew he was going to call me a sissy, but they would hurt so much. Let me say this too. And this sounds crazy, but this is the way I felt as a kid. I would much rather take the beatings, the whoopings, the spankings, whatever you want to call them, than the words. Because I could heal from the spankings, but the words, man, it took me years. And when I say years, I mean years to get over those words. So,
wow.
Yeah, the words were cutting. I mean, more than cutting, and that's how poetry. Yeah. That's how I began writing. Was trying to heal from those words. So I would just write it down. All my pain, I would just write it. So my poetry or my writing was very negative initially, and I've said that before, very negative, because I was just trying to get all that garbage out of me. I didn't know that's what I was doing, but that's what I was doing. And as I started evolving, then my poetry became more it's still angry at times, but it's not hurtful, and it's not it's not so much pain in it now. Still angry about
it's therapeutic, I think.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
And actually, I was thinking of something else, and I'll get to Maya Angelou in a minute. But so when I was reading that piece, and it's called Submerged, and it's your first piece from this book,
right?
So I read this piece, and yesterday I was reading it again and reading it again, and I picture myself, and I don't know how I got this image in my head, but I picture myself in a theater, in a dark theater, watching these words come on the screen. Bastard, stupid, retarded, sissy, homo, whatever you want to call whenever they call you, and whatever they call me, or whatever they call whoever's listening.
Right.
And suddenly I'm like, I wasn't really hurt by the words, because I said, you know what? Just like those words are coming on the screen, I can actually imagine those words to say something different. Every time a word comes out, I will say, you're beautiful. You're amazing. You're amazing. You're worth $1 million. You're the richest person in the world. You're a spiritual person. You heal people with your words. You're a healer. So just like those words were coming on the screen, I was saying no. No. Now knowing what I know is no.
Yeah.
Back then, when I was in my teens, or even 2 years ago, I would have believed those words.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like up to the point where I'm like, all right, bring it on. Tell me whatever you want to tell me.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to believe it.
That's a process. You have to get to that point. And as a child, kind of hard to get to that point. But it's possible. But yeah, you do have to get to that. After that, you're ready for anything. Once you get to the point where you're elevated above that don't bother you. But as a child, yeah, those words stuck. And like I said, I'd much rather be slapped around or beat or something than those words. Those words cut. And I'm one of those sons, or I was one of those sons who I thought he was my father. I found out later at 24 that he was my stepfather. But at that time, I thought the sun rose and fell in my father. So I wanted to be just like him, walk like him, look like him, talk like him, everything. I wanted to be just like him. So when he would say those things, I'd be like, wow, this is my God. This is the person I look up to the most as far as a male, and him saying these things, it must be something wrong with my character. And I carried that for a long time, man. I carried that for a long time. Before he passed in 87. Before he passed, he apologized. He didn't apologize in front of anybody but me. And I was so bitter, I told him, you should apologize in front of the family. And, of course, he was bedridden at that time. So I feel bad about that now. But at that time, I was so angry. That's what I said. I really didn't forgive him. But that's what this show is all about, is forgiveness. And forgiveness really starts with yourself. And once I could forgive myself and not take on what these words were trying to make me, then I could forgive other people. So I hadn't got to that point when he passed. I'm at that point now, but at that time I wasn't there yet. So it took a while.
Yeah. I can't even talk right now.
It took a, and like I said, poetry, writing stuff down. I don't know what word to put it, because I think I look at poetry a lot different than, it's not performing, it's not making the audience go ooh and ah. For me, it's like you said, therapy. It's like relating, because I know if I speak about something true to life, if somebody in the audience that I may not know that may not approach me, that's going to be touched by it because I'm speaking from true experience. So all of us have gone through something, so I'm going to touch. So to me, that's what poetry is. It's a way for me to heal, but at the same time, touch somebody else and tell them, I came through this. I'm speaking about this. I know you're going through something with your husband or your boyfriend or your mother or your father. I came through what I came through. You can come through whatever you're going through too. So that, to me, that's what poetry. That's the power of it. Is that healing? It's not about selling a bunch of books or having people winning slam contests and all. That's nice, but that's not Jeff's angle about poetry. From poetry, it's not nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that. As much as I love it. Right. It's more healing and inspiring, that kind of thing. That's where I'm coming from with poetry.
Yeah. No, and like you just said, there's times that I go to open mics, and I don't want to go to an open mic. Sometimes I'm so down that I'm like, no, I don't think I want to do that. And sometimes I go. And I'm like, okay, there might be a message for me that I need to hear.
Yep.
And sometimes that message comes from myself.
Yeah.
I've learned. Like sometimes I'm on stage and I do a piece and it's about forgiveness or stage fright or homophobia or fears or whatever, you name it. And sometimes I read it and I'm like, that wasn't for anybody there by myself. Wow. Interesting.
It is. That there's a saying that we used to hear. I don't know if they did this in Peru when you were small, but we have a saying here that used to say, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That's a lie. That's a lie. It sounds good and it rhymes and it flows, but that's a lie. Those words really cut deep. In a good way sometimes and in a bad way, but words are more than just, you can't just brush off words. You can't just brush off words. It'd be easy to say that, but you can't, especially as a younger person. Or even, there's not even, I shouldn't just stick to younger folks. It's people in situations right now that are miserable in their situation, either with marriage or family relations or whatever, who are constantly verbally abused and going through it right now. I've had people approach me that are well into their 60s and whatever, and they're going through stuff right now. You would think that by that time they know, to move on or whatever, but they're still going through it. So it's not just a young people's thing or a childhood thing. No, it's a people thing. Anybody can relate to it.
And actually, funny is that my dad, on Christmas Day, I'm laughing because it's like, wow, that should depress me. But my dad did a full of himself on Christmas Day this year, or last. Anyhow, so I wasn't in a good mood that day, and I was like, and I had a feeling something was going to happen. And that's what probably was bothering me, like, up until Christmas, and that's why I wrote that piece, Fuck the Holidays. And that's a long story, but anyhow, my dad, full of himself, you remember. I know you were there. I was laughing too. I was like, okay, that was just angry piece. But my dad actually started drinking, and to the point where he started mumbling things that were out of place. And he knew what he was doing. And I realize this now. I'm like, so you knew back when I was growing up what you were doing to me as well.
Right.
I just realized that. So anyhow, at the end of it, I cut the Christmas Day short, and I'm like, you know what, Dad, I gotta go. Let's go. And he looked at me, and he knew what he did. Okay. So I drove him home, and he lives in Glendale. I drove him home. And he wanted to keep talking. and every word he was saying, he was digging a deeper hole.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
And so I was looking at him like, saying like, shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Just shut up. Like, you keep doing it. I didn't say anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just thought of it. I'm like, just shut up, Dad. Just shut up. Get out of that car and shut up.
Yeah.
But I wasn't saying anything. I was just like, my face, the expression of my face was probably saying more than words.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the end he says, you know what, Victor? Or he calls me son. He calls me son.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know what, son? Mijo, I know what I'm saying sounds like I'm an evil person.
Mm-hmm.
I know what I'm saying right now appears to you that I'm an evil person. And he kept repeating it.
Right.
But I'm not an evil person, he says. Suddenly, everything that he had said up until that point was redeemed by what he just said right there.
Mm.
And those are just words that he just mumbled, and he was drunk and whatever. And I'm like, okay, Dad, I love you too, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wow, that's all he had to say is just admit that he was being an ass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why couldn't he do that when I was growing up?
Yeah.
And he did. Well, a few times he did.
Yeah.
But, words. For instance, Maya Angelou said something really, and I didn't learn about her until recently, until she died.
Okay.
And I learned that for years she chose not to use words.
Yeah.
Because she believed that her words kill people. Mm-hmm. Words can heal, and words can kill.
Exactly.
And anyways, whoever doesn't know that needs to research Maya because
Why Cage Bird Sings. They gotta read that. Gotta read that. Powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then you have to understand why she did what she did, and she did not speak for 7 years, I think, or more.
Yeah.
From the time that she was raped, basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they killed the rapist.
The rapist. Right.
Because she spoke. And she says, this is the man that raped me.
Right.
And so that's why they killed him.
Mm-hmm.
And so up until this day, she feels guilty, or not until this day. She felt guilty when she was 7, I think.
Yeah.
For the words that she said, had that effect, had that consequence.
Yeah, that consequence. And words brought her out of it. Because remember, the teacher that got her to finally speak, got her to speak through words, through poetry and stuff like that. So see, you actually hitting the point right on the head. Is they can damage, but at the same time they can build stuff. So she was able to bring Maya Angelou out of that through words. Words had put her there, but then words brought her out too, and that's the power of it, man. That's the power of it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't harp on that enough. That's the power of it. The word, not weights, not running, not dunking a basketball, not any of that stuff. That's a different kind of power. When I'm talking about words, I'm talking about a power that is a spiritual, it's a spiritual power that it's incomparable. You can't compare it to anything else. Words have that kind of, it can uplift a whole group of people, not just one person, so powerful, man. Poets, I think, and I say this all the time, writers, period, but I think poets in general, in particular, have a big responsibility. They just think they're throwing words on pages, but it's a big responsibility. It's a big responsibility. Because once you throw it like that bow and arrow, once you let that arrow leave that bow, you can't take them back. So that's a big responsibility. So you have to be careful what you write or what you speak, because it's landing on somebody. It's landing on somebody. Good or bad, it's landing on somebody. I work with kids, and I'm very careful because of my upbringing to be careful what I say around kids. Even if the kid does something bad in the classroom, I'm never derogatory. I will never be derogatory because I know that can stay with that kid forever. So words are powerful in a good and a bad way. I try to use them good.
So, believe it or not, Jeffrey,
Mm-hmm.
we actually have been speaking for 35 minutes.
No, there we go. Okay. It goes fast when you're talking. Yeah. Okay.
No. And actually, I like to actually say a couple more things, and then I like to actually have you finish with a poem if you have one ready.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
If you want to.
Yeah. I have one. Because we're talking about forgiveness, and I wrote this book dedicated to my mom called "As Sons Love Their Mothers," and the very first poem was because I wrote the book mainly. I had a feeling that my mom would not read this book. Even when I first, I told a few people that, and they were shocked. I said, no, I don't think Mom's gonna really. I mean, she's gonna value it, but she's not gonna sit down and read this book. I knew she wasn't, and she never did. But that's okay. I loved her, and I mean, she just passed November 7th, as you know. But I wrote it as my form of forgiveness towards my mom, because I think my mom saw some things and didn't speak up on them when she could have. But, you know, we all make mistakes. I love her to death. But this book, I never told her that when I handed her the book, was my way of saying, Mom, I forgive you for that, and I love you for all the beautiful things you did do, but I forgive you for not really speaking when you should have spoke. So, yeah, so I'll read this poem when you finish with what you're going to say.
Dude, I have no words right now. You go ahead.
Okay. It's called it's actually the name of the book is called As Sons Love Their Mothers, and the poem is called As Sons Love Their Mothers. And it goes like this. It's a short poem. It goes, life with its ebb and flow gives lessons which parallel mountains and valleys, requiring nothing more than the ability to breathe long enough to desire tomorrow. The eternal obsession with becoming more than history's footnote and giving reason to everything related to living, we march forward, undecidedly decided that our presence shall amount to more than short days, long nights, and eternal sleep. So we promise our caretakers that we shall prove worthy of the pain and lasso stars that they may rest upon while watching us give substance to a superficial reality, fueled only by the love that began this journey and the sacrifice that warrants it. And that's called As Sons Love Their Mothers. That's how the book started off. So that the whole book was dedicated to my mom, but basically it was a book saying, I forgive you, Mom, and I love you. So. Mm-hmm.
And you know, actually, before we wrap it up, that book, I gave it to my mom.
Did you?
I gave it to my mom, and I don't know why I gave it to my mom, but she actually, I know why, because you translated that to Spanish.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And how do people get your books?
You know, I don't have a website right now, but I can, they can kind of hit me up at my email. It's anomaly 050460@yahoo.com. So they can hit me up that way, and then I'll get the books to them. So it's anomaly.
How do you spell anomaly?
Yeah, ANOMALY 050460@yahoo.com. So they can hit me up that way, and then I'll get the books. So we'll find a way to get the books to them for sure.
Okay. And for those that live in the LA area, San Fernando especially, Jeffrey can be found at Tia Chucha's Centro Cultural and Bookstore every Friday, but it's not.
No, every other the second and fourth Fridays.
Second and fourth Friday of the month.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And you'll be there next Friday, correct?
Yes. Yep. We start back on the 9th, so come through. If people are listening to this, please come through and share your words. You know, share your words, because like I always say, there's somebody in the audience that needs to hear exactly what you have to say. So come through and share your words.
It was really, yeah. Anyways, you know what I'm going to say next, but I don't want to say it because I'm going to cry. And so
I appreciate you, brother.
I'm going to wrap it up by saying that I think your mother was listening. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I feel like she's with me more now I mean, she was always with me, but now I can feel her. I don't have to call her on the phone. She's in my heart on a regular basis.
Right.
Talks to me on a regular basis. That's what's transpired. So yeah.
And I never met your mom, actually. I never met her,
right.
but
Mm-hmm.
through what you're saying, or through your poetry and through your work, and I'm going to wrap it up in a minute. I think I already know her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I need to keep writing as well, because I have stuff that I need to write about my mother, about my father, that it will probably heal somebody else who's going through it.
Exactly.
So you and I have to get together for that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, man. I don't think we write this stuff for ourselves. We're put here. We're brought here to do something. But when we write this stuff, it isn't for us. It really isn't for us. That's why we can't be selfish with it. We got to put it out there and let people and share it with folks, because it's not for us.
Right.
It's for somebody who
and what I was telling you at House of Brews that day.
Mm-hmm.
We got to talk about it in another block radio.
Yeah, whenever.
But we're writing a new gospel of love. We're writing a message.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah. Yep.
And you actually are gonna make a T-shirt out of that, and we're gonna sell it.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. No, that's actually what it is.
There was something that you wrote a couple of days ago that I was like, that's a perfect verse, and I say this verse because I'm like doing like a Bible theme.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I have ideas of the yin yang, but I'll tell you when we get off the air.
Okay. All right, brother. Well,
okay. One more thing I wanted to say about Maya Angelou too is that she said, interesting, is she says words can declare war. Mm-hmm. Just like they can declare peace as well.
Yeah, exactly. They're very powerful.
And if you think about it, every war that ever was created because of the words that were spoken to somebody.
That's right. The misunderstanding of them, or the taking them in the wrong way, or words are very, 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 very powerful. I just want to leave people with this. All of us have a story. All of us have something to offer. So don't waste your time watching other people fulfill their dreams, fulfill your dreams, because your dreams incorporate you touching lives. And that's basically how I'll leave it.
That's the best way to leave it. Leave it to Beaver. All right, Jeffrey, it was a pleasure, and I always love to talk to you, and you know how we can be hours on end talking, so I appreciate you coming to the show.
No, thank you for asking me, and I hope somebody gets something out of it. I know I got something out of it, so thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Okay, likewise, and hopefully we have Rob come next, or Mad Vibes, and call out all the people that will need to come to the show.
That's right. Okay, we're going to make this a big thing for 2015.
Yes, we will.
Okay, bro. All right, thank you so much. Okay.
Okay, you too. Have a great day.
All right, bye.